Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. No problem. So you know, we will just finish the third round. And my thought is that whilst I see some improvement um in some teams, the basics are still lacking right across the board. When I talk about basics, I talk about the simple core skills: catch and pass, tackling, kicking, and playing the ball. To give you an example, I see most of the teams now, when the players are playing the ball, they are still getting up fully to go back down to play the ball instead of playing the ball on the way up, and that split second can be the difference between your team getting a line break or a half break and create havoc in the defense. And it also it can also be the difference between markers being square and not being square. So for me, clean up the rock area in terms of the play the ball speed is something that all teams need to work on. The dummy half passes from all six teams. I've spoken to the coaches about this. It doesn't matter how skillful you are, it doesn't matter how quick you are. Your attack cannot get going if your dummy half passes are poor. And when I say poor, it means too high, too low, too slow. I think that's the major thing I'm seeing. A lot of the passes are way too slow. So by the time the ball moves from the rock to the first receiver, the 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 defense, if they have good line speed, has taken away a lot of space from the attack. So that is something that I would encourage all team um, to practice. The third thing that I see creeping into the game more and more is this dumping tackle that people are celebrating. Yeah, it might look spectacular, but it's really an ineffective tackle. You know, because guess what? As one of the national coaches, I have rarely seen my boys on the international stage doing that because they know it is not effective. But yet still we tend to celebrate it in our local games. So I think there's still a lot that needs to go on in terms of coaching education, player education, and also fan education. Um, and I mean I can really explain why the dumping tackle is ineffective. If you have a defensive line coming forward, most of the dumping tackles are one on one. By the time you lift the man and dump the man, that's less than 1 second. Your defense has not had time to go back to set. You're not going to effectively get to marker. And again, it's just a waste of energy. I rather see players making an effort to win the collision, and bringing the attacker to ground on their own conviction. When they want to bring the attacker to ground. This dumping tackle is really, yeah, it is ineffective. But apart from that, what I can say, some good things I've seen, the athleticism right across the park, with all teams, seem to have improved. I am really pleased with what I've seen so far in terms of when players are in full flight, getting the ball and running with purpose. So I think that is pleasing. But there's still a lot of work to be done, and I think so far, all the teams, hopefully they would have seen what they need to see out of the first 3 rounds and move towards improvement from here on. Yeah, but guess what? Our culture, you see, that's what Jamaica do so well in track and field, you know, because it's not really a team sport. It's an individual. It's me against the track. Even if you look at our relay teams, we have never had the best relay teams in the world. We probably have the four fastest people in the world, but we've never yeah, we are not, you know, and I said this, we are not um progressive where team sport is concerned. If you look at, even you're talking about rugby league now, when a man scores a try, who do you see get all the plaudits? The man who scored the try. But nobody recognizes the halfback or the prop or even the second row who would have made a half break and put the defense in shambles and get a quick play the ball so that your halfback or your center can be running at a retreat at a line that is retreating. Because again, we don't recognize the input of the entire team. It's only a one-man thing. So those players who are dumping, yeah, look spectacular, but also you get big up and you get all the plaudits from that. So unless we adopt a team culture and learn to play the game properly, it's going to be a hard thing to get it out of our game.
But just to follow up on that, right? Would you say that compared to say 3, 4 years ago, would you say the dump tackle is something you see often? Because maybe it's just me, but I don't think I've seen it as often as we would have seen it several years ago in the NCC competition. I could be wrong
Right.
though.
Yeah, man, you're definitely wrong. That could be. I have been to all 9 games so far, watched all 9 games live
Mhm.
so far this season, and I can tell you it is more than it was before. I think
Okay.
back then it was more a question of knowledge, because we have people who play another version of rugby, and
Mhm.
the tackling across there is, the practice to tackle low.
Mhm.
Um, so I think a few years ago you would have had players who are crossing over who would have been used to that style of tackle. You understand? So it was hard to get out of their game because it's what they do when they play rugby union.
Mhm.
Now I can say that there are more rugby league games being played. There are more players who are aware of what I think more players are now aware of what a proper rugby league collision is, a proper how to properly win the tackle. Because if you talk to them, they tell you and you see them do it. But there's a thing called nature versus nurture. um,
Mhm.
I think again, it is here now because again, I think it's that individual who wants to get all the plaudits. Because
Mhm.
I've seen videos, I think you share a video with me, and the
Mhm.
man lift up the man and dump the man, and the player will tackle, get up and play the ball, and the defense was on the back foot, so yeah, I think it's more it is more now across all the teams.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Peer assessment, and I do agree. The dump tackle isn't exactly something, from my personal view, not something that wins plaudits or matches. But some players they won't do it, others will. This kind of goes into our next question of player deployment. I think we're seeing far more younger players starting to make the step up into NCC senior competitions. How would you say the matriculation of these younger players coming into NCC has progressed so far from your watchful eye, based on under 14, under 16 coming into the senior ranks from your perspective, Roy?
Yeah, it has been good. It has been really good. I mean, I don't know all the names, but I
Mm-hmm.
know teams like Thundercats, have quite a number of youngsters who would have been playing from under 16. I'm not sure about under 14, but under 16 coming right up. I mean, I think they probably their entire squad, barring less than five players, I would say, are all less than 23 years old.
Mhm.
You know, Bulls again, have a number of players who would have come through the Calabar system from under 14s, and currently I know Sharks personally. There's about three or four players in their top 17 who are just 17 or 18 years old. Um, and these players are players who would have been playing the game from under 16, under 14 level. Um, Hyenas too. I think there are quite a number of youngsters who have been through Kingston High, who are now a part of their NCC squad, and of course, with Dragons, you would have had probably a number of youth from Campion or through the US system. But even JDF themselves, are showing some youngsters join their team, and they're and doing very well. You see, I think we're in an interesting 5-year cycle. Um,
Mhm.
coming out of the World Cup, which was when 2021.
Mhm.
Um, but then you'd have had a group of players. I would say between 8 to 10 group of players, but seriously about five players who, for about a 10-year period, their goal was to be the best that they can be, with the hope of making it to a World Cup. I think those players have gone. There are still some are still playing, but I think those players have actually achieved being playing in the highest level. And now I
Mhm.
think we're witnessing um, some players underneath that now who are starting to develop. And so as I said, the next 5 years is going to be interesting in
Mhm.
seeing how many of these players actually come through.
Yeah, I do agree because just like Thundercats, as you mentioned, they have quite a number of players. Before, you probably wouldn't have seen so many teenagers taken into the NCC competition, which also brings me to another point. Is there any like top ranking youngsters from your watchful eye, or just even if it's biased to Sharks that you've noticed that you say, yeah, I can see this man being a future reggae warrior, or just someone you think will be knocking on the door of a future Jamaica selection one of these days?
Yeah, yeah, man, definitely. Well, it's said by the Sharks. So remember, I am no longer the head coach there. I mean, I'm still close to the club. It was a good project that came through the last 5 years. Been around. I mean, it's one of the founding clubs. I mean, between Sharks and JDF, I think are the only two clubs who have been there from the beginning. I think JDF
Mhm.
missed a couple of years through the Tivoli incursion when that was happening. And the Sharks, I think, have played every single season. But definitely, there are a number of guys that I am really pleased with. There's a youngster at Thundercats, Amiki Miller. Again, I think for him is just being consistent. Good run
Mhm.
prop. I think he made his P.O.R debut last year. Um, Brandon Garden, who plays dummy half for them. I think he's also good. But I have some concerns in terms of his development and the fact that I don't think he's playing the position enough.
Mhm.
Being allowed to grow into the position and make mistakes and learn from them. Um, you
Mhm.
know, Still with Thundercats, I think Keron Montague is a good prospect. I think he has improved over the past 12 months. Joseph Daly, I think, is also another good prospect. But these guys is just to have them playing specific position for a period of time to learn the 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 the, the, the demands of that role. From the JDF, Joey Forbes is one of my favorite players. Just for speed and size. I think Steve Miller has come on. Is one of the older ones. But his leadership of the Warriors for me has have been very impressive. And they have a few other players that I mean I've not learned their name as yet.
I
Um,
believe one of them, Cesare Thompson.
yeah,
He's really
Cesare Thompson.
surprised me the
He's the
last.
one that scored I think three tries in round two or something like that. I am also impressed with Sharks, the young fullback Alex Williamson. You know, I mean probably I'm a bit biased, but it's one of my projects, and I am I mean the youth is like a sponge. I remember having a conversation with him about playing fullback and the purpose of a fullback and what is required of a fullback. And I remember
Mhm.
asking him, what does he understand about being a fullback? What is his role? And he said to me, tackle a man and will come to the line. And I said, that's correct. But anything else? And he thought about it, but was struggling to come up with a response. And I said, what about preventing people from coming through the line? And I can see that he thought about it and how do I do that, coach? I'm gonna say learn to set a defensive line in front of you. And we started talking about that, talking about how to split the field in channels, how to number up. If the play the ball is on the 70, you should have three players defending short side, seven long side, two markers. If the play the ball is on the 20, you should have two short side, eight long side, stuff like that. And I can see him, doing that, and I can see the team responding to him, communicating. I can see the team listening to him. So I think he's probably 17. Um, and as I said, there are quite a few other youngsters. My concern, though, as one of the national coaches, is that we don't seem to have a lot of forwards coming through, um, and that is because everybody wants to do the pretty work. Nobody wants to take the first and second carry, and if you take the first or second carry, they don't want to run to commit two to three defenders. They want to run across the field and avoid being tackled. So that's something that I've been talking to the coaches about in terms of understanding the various channels, the right edge, the middles, the left edge, who belongs on in which channel, and their purpose. What is it that they're supposed to be doing on tackle 1 to 3? What they're doing 4 and 5? So we're having some conversations, having some really good conversations with the coaches around that, and hopefully we will see some improvement. But definitely, Dragons have a couple of young players too that I'm really impressed. There's a guy that plays lock for them. I think his name is Alex. I can't remember his middle name. His surname. But in the games of what, even behind beaten teams, he has really been a standout. He's not afraid to be tackled. He's not afraid to carry the ball. He's not afraid um um to tackle. And that is
Mhm.
what I want to see of players. There are times I talk to coaches and I said, who's your dummy half? Who's your hooker? And they mention a name. So for example, they said John Brown. And I said, but I don't say John Brown getting to the rock and passing. And I said, because passing is not his strength. So I'm saying, but he's not a dummy half then. You know. So like conversations like that, I think, and again, it's just coming from a point of they don't know. You know.
Mhm.
So you put him a dummy half because he's a strong runner. So I said, so who comes to dummy half and pass the ball? Him said, it's come off. So, but yeah, but then you are shortening your side and attacking weapon in the back line. What happens when so little stuff like that. I think the conversation that I want to start and mold and encourage is around gameplay and around player positions and responsibility. But quite a number of young players coming up. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it's not,
Yeah. And
it's not even only that. Rajiv, you could say that building interpersonal relationships. I know a lot of people might not agree, but like if you're in a team, you don't have to like the person, but you're a family on the field. And I think one of the best examples I can give is Andre Lee. If anybody knows Andre Lee's story, when he just started playing rugby overall, the man was a loose cannon. Man got upset over the most things. Rajiv can tell you when we had him at Spanish Town. Man, walk off of the field left way. Talk about how he can't bother with this. I told we talk to him and tell him, say, yo, listen, you're not going to win every match. Every match is not going to go your way. And I'm so glad to see the maturity that he's shown. Still has a little bit more development to do. I see that some bad habits are still creeping in, but to see that he's made his P.O.R debut, know that he's one of them players that you can always depend on. Really pleasing and the eye to see, especially from my point of view personally.
yeah, yeah. I mean, actually, I was talking to Andre's coach, one of his coaches over the weekend, and I was saying to the person that I don't think Andre knows how good he is. Um, and because of that, he tends to drift in and out of games. So for me, the thing that I would encourage him to work on is just be present at all times. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when things are not going accordingly. Uh, all right. So again, I am speaking from a national development point of view. Not a lot
Mm-hmm.
of these wingers actually know their role. I'm telling you, they
True,
have
true.
speed and they have strength. But if you ask the wingers what is their job and tackle one and two and possibly three, they don't know. They don't know that when the ball is kicked, right, and is gathered by their team, one of the
Back
first
three.
three carries is theirs. They don't know that. And you can see that they just stand on the wing and they just, if the ball doesn't come to them all game, they get disinterested, right? So this drifting in and out of games, I think again goes back to my point. Player
Mm-hmm.
knowledge. They don't know. I don't see Angela Lee counting the tackles. That's your job as a winger. And the problem, if you ask him, him tell you say no, I'm supposed to do it. So why you not doing it? You understand me? I say
No,
those,
I mean that goes back to what you said a few years ago when we did an episode with you and a coach. Right? It goes back to the type of culture that you build into a player from the get go. If you build
yeah,
into a
man.
man and tell him that yo, you're the best in the world, nobody can stop you. I'm not saying that's a bad tactic to use. But when you let these bunch of players these days, and no disrespect to any of the young youth, them, but when you make them youth, I believe they're hype. They really let it get to them heads where them things say, oh, them unstoppable. And then
Yeah,
the
but
day
guess
them
what?
meet on a brick wall, falls
Yeah,
apart.
but so there's nothing wrong with blowing smoke. You know, there's nothing wrong with the hyping up a player. So there's nothing wrong with telling a player he's the best in the world, but you have to tell him what him do or what him need to do. You have to use some psychology. Yo,
Yeah.
you're the best in the world because I always area caught to tackle them. No, me probably not hear my court and tackle, right? And me want him caught me and say, yo, you're the best in the world because the area caught to tackle him. Yeah, you're the best in the world because guess what? Whenever me see a fullback gone short side, you always a sweep on the long side. So you tell them that. So they know that is what. And when they not do it now, you can say to them that, but you're not best in the world because you're not doing this. So you tell them they're best in the world, but you do not tell them what they do or what they need
Mhm.
to do to become best in the world. Andre have all the talent in the world, but he's just not positionally. Um, on yardage sets, he doesn't get behind the ball. And also kick chase, he doesn't chase kicks. I start on Saturday. He doesn't. No, again,
Yeah, that true,
he
true.
can. But as a coach, I'm sitting on the sideline. I am grading you based on what I see you do, not based on what you tell me say you know for do. I'm grading what I see. He doesn't chase kicks. You understand? He doesn't communicate with it. So him have all the speed to burn, has all the steps to burn. But again, how many times per game do you get the ball in open field?
I think it goes back to another conversation we had in our chief where we said most of these outside backs they think to have a standout game they must be on the score sheet, and all three of us know that is not true. How many
Yeah,
games
man.
have we seen?
But
Have
you
we seen
see,
wingers where then?
it's about knowing the
Mhm,
game. It goes back, and as I said, my conversation with young Alex when he said his job as a fullback is to tackle anybody where break a line. And he did not even think that, no, but me can me can do less work in tackling if me organize my line in front of me. Yeah. Yeah. And again, Saturday I saw one of the best me see him do it. Saturday I saw him also. Last week Thursday at training, I pulled him aside and I said, listen, Saturday I'm giving you three things I'm looking for. I said, one, the defensive communication. He made some errors on Saturday, but I saw the effort and I can
mhm,
grade the effort. I said to him, I want you to also tackle 1 to 3. I want for you to push and support the forwards in and around the rock. You might not get the ball, but what you're doing, you're pulling defenders off the forwards and creating one-on-one opportunities for them to get their shoulders through the line. And the third and final one, which I think that was the best one he did, I said to him, coming out of your half, always take the last carry. Take the last carry coming out of your half. So tackle four, ask for the ball, go to first receiver, ask for the ball, and you take the last carry. And I explained to him why. I said, you take the last carry, you are going to be tackled. And not expecting you to run across the field, run in the middle of the field, make some of their big guys miss, have to tackle you. When you get tackled, ball is passed back and kick, everybody is chasing. You are now still at the back as a fullback organizing your line. When you give a fat man the ball like a Virgo, protect the last carry, and Virgo take the last carry and get tackled. When that ball is played back and kicking off, Virgo not go chase. Think about it. Him not go chase because him just take the last tackle. If your fullback take the last tackle now, everybody is willing is available to chase. And your fullback and the fact that you already make some of them big man miss and miss in the middle of the field, those same big man now get back until it's tackle 4 or 5. So because they are going to be tired. So it's just knowing the game from that. No, I don't think a lot of people are thinking about the game from that micro level. It's always about the big play.
mhm,
Um, but as I said, we have a lot of talent, and something I'm definitely doing this year. I am trying to after every round, I meet with the coaches one on one. Some of them, not
mhm,
all, and also in the general coaches group, I post about 5 or 6 pointers that I want for them to work on. Some will reach out to me
mhm.
one on one and say, explain this a bit more. Some won't again because it's a culture thing and people know it, and that is fine. But again, I can only grade what I am seeing. Well, P.O.R. this year we're hoping um to take it back to the roots in terms of I think coming out of COVID, the hype is still there. But as the chief organizer, I think the organization is lacking some build up around it. Um, and I think part of that has to do with P.O.R now just seems like a high intensity club game. And why I say that is because it is being played at the same venue that the club games are being played. Times gone before we have gone to Constant Spring or gone to Barbican, so there's a different feel when it comes to P.O.R. So we are looking forward to that this year. We are trying to get a neutral venue, one that has never we have never played that before. Not ready to make the announcement as yet because we still have to work with um a lot of, should I say, government agencies to get clearance. But we are trying to bring it to a neutral venue. I think based on the fixtures, it's supposed to be sometime in October. I think it's going to be a one-off game. Um, and we're going all in. But yeah, but there's supposed to be some changes around this year. Winner takes all. No, winner takes all. When all right. So when we look at it, there are a couple of things that I think we have tinkered with the format. I've been trying to find the best fit. Um, and I said, coming out of COVID, there are some things that are made obvious to me. It is actually one of the most expensive events on the rugby league calendar. So from
True.
a financial perspective, yeah, putting on two games, and then we try to do a woman's version also. Last year we did under 16, 19s, women and men. The hope is to do the same this year. Um, so yeah, it's just we're looking at expenses, and also we're looking at it just being putting everything into that one, every effort from an organization point of view and from a player point of view. We're not giving anybody any second chance. Is for this year is just one. You prepare as best as you want. It is already on the calendar. And realize we actually switch the time of year as well. It is at the end of the season. Because generally what will happen, we normally use it start it before the season. And you know, it was good because it yeah, it started the season, but then a few clubs might have issues because we might have players who injured um in P.O.R and can't play for them club for 3 months. But also from a player development and a match fitness point of view, I think putting at the end of the season, because you look at how our season is structured now, I think it is logical. We have intercal, then we have Division Two, then we have Division One, then we have P.O.R, and then we have our internationals. So right throughout the year, each competition is getting higher and higher. Right. So that's the reason for us moving into that time of year.
Um, how do I put this? Is it possible that due to the changing of how rugby league is really moving forward now, given the product of the NRL, that these changes must be made? And by changes, I mean, like, what is the qualification for P.O.R still the same as before, or has there been some um, changes into how players qualify to play for each either Blues or Reds?
No man, the qualification is still the same. There's no change around that. Um, but what I'm saying is that we want to focus on leading into one event. Give it your best shot.
Mhm.
The players who are interested have almost an entire year to get prepared for this. Because let me tell you what will happen. Previously, P.O.R would have been picked based on your performance in the previous season. Someone have a brilliant 2024 and get picked for P.O.R 2025. That player sometimes is not necessarily the best of shape coming into 2025. And no, yeah, that's true. I've seen it. And some players, it takes them a while, a few games to really get up and running. So switching it to the end of the year of multiple benefits. Of course, now with everything, there's positive and there's negatives, and we're just seeing that moving into that time of year and being a one-off game, um, might be better at this time. As I said, finances is one of the reasons for this. Um, because one thing with it, we are not going to put out a watered down product. So if we don't have the financial backing to do certain things, we're not going to do it. And of course, if we do it
Understood.
this year and it doesn't work, and there's a better idea based on things that we see next year, it might change as well.
Okay.
Yes. So we're just still trying to search for the best.
All right. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. You hear that blues? Yeah. I mean, me personally, probably because it was my second in-person P.O.R. The 2022 games will always have a special place in my heart. Not because I was a commentator, even though that was also very brilliant, but
No, I can tell you
just
what it
see.
was. It was coming
Yeah,
out of COVID, and you had missed rugby. I think that was the issue. So
no,
it's like you didn't eat no food for a while, and you finally get some food to eat. You know,
well,
yeah, it
well,
is good. So,
that was one of it, but it was also just just experiencing what everybody. Cause personally, I think the only one I had been to was the 2018 one, which was how I met Rajiv, and I will never forget because I said, "What that? Welcome man as prop? What is this?" That don't make no sense. But then, 2022 came around, and to this day, I'm still surprised when Rai said, "Yo, Doc, want to be a commentator." And best believe the whole bus right down, nervous as hell. I was like, hmm, stress. But
mhm.
after seeing after the female game, you know, I don't know. I guess because I know all of the players' names, the nicknames, everything just flowed at once. Still, still, still cannot believe them really comes and call a forward pass a try.
Mhm.
I still cannot. Every time I watch it, I was like, why?
It
Stress me out.
happens even in World Cup and international games. If I'm at that level,
No, 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 no,
why I think
right?
it can't be here.
What? No, it's not that I don't think you can. Whenever I see a forward pass in the NRL, I just roll my eyes and say, what is true.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I mean, Latrell Mitchell beat my team this year in a forward pass, and I'm not
Hey,
gonna fuck it up and move
hey, hey, hey,
on.
listen, 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 listen.
Yeah.
We see and
And I
no,
mean,
no,
no, I just
oh,
have to look at who. I have to look at where we're on the ladder compared to his team. I said, okay, justice has been served. I'll move on.
why I said that because every time you go remind Gooden say, Gooden, yeah man. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah.
But really and truly, as you know, the main thing that rugby league players strive to do is to become a reggae warrior. At least that is what I believe is everyone's goal. Everyone has different reasons. But in terms of international games, Coach Rai, like we've seen where we've been expanding our horizons, getting more games in for some of for the Jamaica product. Where are we looking in terms of opponents for international games, and the selection process as we go forward into another World Cup cycle coming up?
Well, this year there are a number of internationals confirmed. It's gonna be one of our most active in the season. Um,
Mm-hmm.
starting with I think Canada. Canada should come here. I think sometime in October to play against our senior men's team and an under 19 team. So our youngsters will also get some action. Um, the men
Revenge.
and the men and women team will be going to the US to take on the USA. Our women will be taking on forgive me, I think it's either Wales or Scotland. Don't quote me on that. But they are taking on the players who are based in the UK though, because again, finances kind of have their way. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
the players who are based in the UK will be taking on one of those teams in Europe
Mm-hmm.
in November as well. And then the men will be going to France in November as a World Cup qualifier. One game, winner of that goes to World Cup. It's as simple as that. Um, so as I said, we have a that's what six games, two women,
Mm-hmm.
three men, and a 19. Yeah, man. Yeah, so we have a pact in between October and December. Yeah, it's gonna be a tight schedule. We are all excited for it. Um, the management team still trying to sort out the the best mix for all the teams because
Mm-hmm.
as you know you can pick a player now and the next week the player get injured. Can you
Yeah.
imagine you pick a player now, say you want this player go US or even France, and you pick the man now and you look for visa and fear, and then the man get injured, right? And then you have to go do that. Oh yeah, so it's a everything is a calculated risk.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, we still have to try to find. As I said, finances. There's so much happening in the background with the um with the rugby league in international federation. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and the support is given to some of the some of the national leagues. Um, and just put it this way, w- we are doing way more with way less. Um, so if some people look at what we do every year with what we get, people ask me how we do it. But as I said, we just have to get creative where we have to realize what is important to us. Because for me, I can tell you personally, and this is not me talking on the behalf of the RLJ. This is me talking as Roy Calvert, the one-time player who grew up a play grassroots rugby league. For me, the passion is more about developing the sport in the country than even playing internationally. That is me. I
Mm-hmm.
think it is more important for us to develop a, 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 an exciting league here, a sustainable league here, one that we can put out as a product. Um, you know, so I think for me that is more here. That is more a legacy to leave behind than a team going to the World Cup or because we, not wanting to throw shade or anything, but we have had other sporting teams who have gone to World Cup almost 30 years ago, and you understand me? I say so for me, it's about developing a sustainable league here. It's about Doc being able to not even talking about mainstream media, because there are a lot of our sports now that are not in mainstream media now, and they're doing very well. If you look at our lacrosse, um, even hockey is doing well, and you're not seeing any hockey game on TV. But I think but yeah, you're not seeing them on TV. So there are things that we can do and we can develop, and I just which is what resulted in me kind of stepping back from club coaching a bit because
Mhm.
I want to be able to talk to coaches and players and them don't see me as saying, oh yeah, I do it because of sharks. Yeah, I want no, I mean it's true. I want for them to be able to see, oh yeah, man, I mean they will still always see it, probably, but I
I
want it to
mean,
be more like I'm looking at national
I mean
development.
that's a crazy statement to make. When somebody trying to assist you and you think so he's there to
Yeah,
get
but
your
again, I
well, no,
understand.
no, what may I look for in a coach right? And probably I'm out of pocket for saying this. Or Rajiv will probably ban me, but I'm like, brother, you never win a title in your life. Like, what, what secrets could you have the man I try to find out? Uh,
Yeah,
Maybe it's
but
just
but
me.
then but then it could be, why would you give me any ideas on how to beat your team? So I have to balance it. I have to balance it. Which is why, I said I step back because I want to see the game locally develop. I want yeah, so the international game will come on the back of that. But you see, we don't have a strong local league, we cannot have strong local players. All right.
True,
And
true.
and for me, that is what I'm focusing on. And the clubs themselves have a lot to do with it. I am happy now. I am happy now that I am seeing a lot of clubs on social media. I see more and more clubs posting um match day 17, more and more clubs posting highlight, giving no, we have to give them props because at the end of the day, all this is voluntary from everybody. And not everybody um is willing to. It takes a lot of work, to run a sporting team. It takes a whole heap of work. And yeah, so now when I mean, Sharks has always been on IG for the past 3 years or so. I see Dragons being more active now. I see Warriors being more active. I see Bulls being more active. um I see Cats being more active. So we have to encourage and push these things and big these things up because, again, as I said, our culture is one of, if me do A and you big me up, I continue doing A. If me do A and you don't big me up, me gonna stop doing A. Yeah, that's just who we are as a people. That's the truth. So when we see these little things being done to highlight and to, man, we might not agree with how them do it or what them do. The fact is that something is being done.
I mean, that goes back to the whole player highlights that I've posted. I don't.
Mhm.
When was it, Rajiv, that Kenneth reached out to me again? I don't remember if Kenneth even remembered that it was me. I don't think he remembered that I was the one that posted the video, and I saw him repost it, and I'm gonna say, "Yo, where them people I get them highlights from?" Best believe
Mhm.
hours upon hours I search through Sharks videos, I edit out the match
Mhm.
them, I try to mute out the curse word them. My old
And then you were doing that, and I heard other people were saying it's only some money I do video off. But then how many clubs were videoing their stuff and posting it online?
but it wasn't
You
even
know?
that. It wasn't even that. It wasn't even that. Coach Rai. I asked a simple request, nothing too strenuous. Once you're at the matches, I believe this was even in 2022 when I just came back to play NCC for Spanish Town. I asked, listen, we are trying to modernize this sport. We're trying to get everybody highlights. Everybody, video cameras, phone cameras, whatever it is. Video the matches. If you have your player highlights, if you want me to edit out something for you, fine. Just make sure you have it. And how many teams agreed with that, Rajiv? Half of the time, my phone died halfway through.
Mm.
What was I
Yeah,
supposed to
man.
do with that? Right? bro, bro. How did you think I found out about the grand final between Sharks and Vauxhall? I remember I used to start was say, well I know, there's a river I look for me. I said, boy, I really like tackle, you know. I find out video with this man flat when I Vauxhall forward him. But me I say can't tackle. Sure. Okay.
Yeah, man, back in the day when I was young. Yeah, so that's what I say that we have to, you see, we have to learn to that there's a psychology behind it. There are a lot of times we point out what we don't want to see without telling the people what we want to see. Yeah, you understand? So point out what they're not doing rather than tell them what we want them to do. And the more I go around and I talk to people, it's becoming more and more obvious that their talent here, both in administration but people just need guidance. And you have people who are
Mhm.
willing to take the guidance. You know, and sometimes you have to understand that you can't do everything. And people sometimes are gonna do things different from how you do it. And that is fine. What you do is that you train, you move on, you make a mistake, you correct, and you move on again. But what you can't do is to give up and say it never is going to work. Well, there's a right answer to that, and there's a righter answer. So if we're talking about geography now, Kingston is just downtown Kingston. So so only hyenas would come from Kingston. But if you talk about the corporate area, Kingston and St. Andrew, no, I wouldn't say we're seeing more players. I think the there's more that can be done. When you look at the fact that Portmore has still have one of the best schoolboy rugby league set up program in the country in Cedar Grove. I think I think like everything was just um left on one person, and that's hard to manage when you have a squad as that big. Again, there is BB Coke, all the way in St. Elizabeth that continues to burn. I'll give you a story about BB Coke, and every time I tell a story, it warms my heart. So my wife previous job took her all over the country, and one day it took her into the town that BB Coke is located, and she visited a family there. She said when she visited the family there, there's this they had a daughter who was 12 years old, and so she just started talking to the little girl, and it's obvious the little girl was a bright girl. Just her whole disposition and the way she speaks, and you know, um, my wife said she was encouraging her, make sure she stay in school and take her book and listen to her parents. And so my wife asked her, "Do you play any sports?" And she said, "No, but I want to play rugby." So my wife said she was taken aback because this is a 12-year-old girl now. And she said, "Rugby?" And she said, "Yes." She said, "Why you want to play rugby?" She said, "Because it's the best sport in my school." Right? And she said the little girl went about and told her this girl had about a 97 average in her schoolwork. So it was a bright girl. And for her to come and say she wants to play rugby, for me, that struck a chord because I mean that something good is happening there. Not wanting to um step on anybody can. But growing up, my always hear say, I don't people play rugby are people who can play any other sport. No, it's true. It's true.
But
Those who
my
can,
first
those who can.
my first introduction couldn't have been more similar. GC Foster College. Oh, just a bunch of misfits that couldn't make it in their other
Exactly.
sports.
That is what.
I mean,
That's what I
I mean,
heard.
not a lie. That why
If you can't play
that pissed me
football,
off.
you play rugby. If you're not fast enough, you might have little speed, but you're not fast enough, you go do rugby. If you're fat, right, you go play rugby. Yeah, 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 you understand? So that's what I grew up. So for here, a little girl, not even a boy now, a girl at 12 years old, said that she wants her dream. My wife said she said her dream is to play rugby for her school. For me, that showed me that something good is happening done by BB Coke, and I wish that whatever is happening there can be replicated across the island. But we do have some good schools program. I think campaign program is good. Cedar Grove program is obviously good. BB Coke is obviously good. Calabar is obviously good. Spanish Town, you know, is good. So I do think that we have good um a high school program. Um, and what we have to be careful of, Rajiv, you asked the question about expansion. If you only have 1 spoon of sugar, we can mix 1 glass of sugar and water. If you put 2 glass of water, 1 spoon of sugar, it'll go fresh. If you put 3 glass of the 1 spoon of sugar, it'll be even more fresh. So what we carefully don't want to do, we have limited resources. So we don't want to expand so far that the resources become so thin, and then the product just becomes like a waste product. We are really care, which is why right now, for me, NCC with 6 teams is where it needs to stay. That's a national competition. For me, it doesn't make sense you have 7 or 8 teams and two of those teams not turning up for most of their games. And and
True.
and two of those teams, every game them play, you're looking at a cricket score, right? It doesn't make it. Are those teams them turn up, but them have 7 games for this season and a 1 game alone they can find a full 17. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And also, if you look at the match official side of it too, you don't have enough match officials to go around. And then we know what's going to happen when you don't have good match official. People are gonna start cost. So we have to be careful on expansion.